Hello everyone, welcome back to my Chem Corner. So in today's video we're going to do a revision on MCQs, since we all know that the new paper pattern has 15 marks of MCQ in it. So we just thought that we will go through those MCQ questions. Basically, yes, to give you answers. The second thing is just to give you an approach as to how you're going to answer those questions. Alright, so I just have 3 papers. And 3 papers have 1 or 2 repeated questions, and the remaining are a new question, so we will know as to how to answer. So I'll just go through each of this. All right, so I'm just going to do the part A, which has only MCQ questions, which are 15 marks, 1 mark each. All right, so before we move into the video, in case you're new to the channel, please do hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you receive notifications as and when I upload the video. And if you're a person who is not related to PUC content here, please do share it with other people who may require it for their studies. So it will be helpful because once this is done, as examinations are tomorrow, that is on 13th March, I'm sure that we're going to start off with a new batch, and we will be starting off with bridge course. We will be starting off with new chapters, so I'm sure it's going to help the upcoming classes too. So please do share it with many people, as you know. All right, so let's move in here. This is one of the model papers that we've received. So part A, it says select the correct option from the given choices. In most of these questions, these correct choices are pretty much direct, which means once you read the options, you will know the only option that can fit in for that particular question is very open. All right, so here what you can do is go through each of this. So we will discuss one by one in this paper. So the first question here is from solid state. Which of the following is not a characteristic property of crystalline solids? So here crystalline solids definitely have a geometric shape, they have a sharp melting point, and they are a true solid. So the only correct answer here is isotropic nature. I hope you all can see the yellow tick mark that I'm putting here. I don't have a darker shade than this, so I'll try and put it in red. Alright, so there are already tick marks here because it was previously done by another student, in which not many of them are correct, so please follow the marking that I'm putting on the screen. Next one, second question is solubility of a gas in a liquid with rise in temperature. Alright, please remember you're trying to dissolve a gas in a liquid. When temperature rises, the solubility is only going to decrease because only at low temperature can you do this. Alright, so A is going to be the answer, where the solubility has to decrease. Alright, next one. Which of the following mixture will show positive deviation from Raoult's law? So the problem in this question is it has A, ethanol and acetone, B, chloroform and acetone, C, phenol and aniline, D is benzene and toluene. Now remember one thing, if you need to have a negative deviation, obviously there should be hydrogen bonding between the two components, which are possible in B and C, which is chloroform and acetone, phenol and aniline. There are also 2 options where ethanol and acetone is there, benzene and toluene are there. So there can be, say, 0.1% of having options which have answers which have two options. Please write both the options. All right, because both are correct in this case. You can have D as correct, you can have ethanol and acetone also correct, because both technically will show positive deviation. All right, now then the next one, quantity of charge required to obtain 1 mole of aluminum from Al2O3 minus 3 is, so remember one thing, 1 Al atom will have a +3 charge, but in this molecule we have 2 Al atoms. So if 1 Al is having +3 as a charge, therefore 2 Al will have how much? It will have +6. So the answer has to be +6 here. Alright, now the unit of rate constant of a second order reaction is, so for this it's very easy for us to calculate it. I'll just show that to you so that you know how to solve it. You don't really have to by heart such a answer. So here when you're looking at the rate constant, your definition for rate is mole per liter, which is concentration by seconds. When you have to calculate for a particular order, into 1 by mole per liter, and here you're going to write what is the order. So here second order, so I'm putting the power 2. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel out 2 and this, so that I have cancelled out the common terms. When I take mole on top, it will become mole inverse, liter inverse will become liter, and second will become seconds inverse. So I need mole inverse, liter, second inverse, which is option number B. Alright, now sixth one is a colloidal system having solid as dispersed phase and a liquid or as a dispersion medium is classified as a gel. Alright, there's a table for it. You are expected to know that table correctly. Then seventh one is Mons process is used to purify the a particular metal. Which is that? Only for nickel. This is from metallurgy. Alright, now next one, moving on to the 8th question. Noble gas which is not found in air is radon. This is something you've been learning from high school, radon. Then common oxidation state of D block element is going to be +2, because in a D block element the outer shell is 4s. So commonly the 2 electrons can be lost easily because you have cobalt 2+, you have CO2+, you have Zn2+. So what happens is 2 electrons will first move out from the 4s orbital, giving you commonly a +2 oxidation state. And that's the first thing that you learn in DNF block chapter. Next one is coordination compound chapter. The compounds CONH35Br SO4 and CONH35SO4Br represents. So here what has happened? One of the ligand has got interchanged with the counter ion. So Br, which was in the coordination sphere, has gone out as a counter ion in the isomer. So when that happens, this is basically an example of an ionization isomerism. Alright, next one. A tertiary alkyl halide would prefer to undergo SN1 mechanism. This is something that you always learn. SN1 mechanism, you take a tertiary butyl bromide. So it has to undergo SN1 mechanism. Next is aldehyde RCHO with a Grignard's reagent and water. The product formed. What is the nature of that alcohol there? Alright, so let's work it out. You have R, C double bond O and a H, which is going to react with RMgX. Now what happens is, since R is bonded to a metal, the R in the Grignard's reagent is negative. That will attack on the carbonyl carbon and oxygen carbon single bond will be formed. So this will become O minus, hydrogen remains as it is, and then you have an R group here. Further it will react with water, picks up a hydrogen and it's going to form an alcohol. Now remember, what is the nature of this alcohol here? Carbon, the OH is bonded to a carbon which has only one hydrogen, or OH is bonded to a carbon that has two hydrogens. So the nature of alcohol here is going to be a secondary alcohol. So what I suggest you to do is, instead of by-hearting all of this, is to better work it out. So you know that your answer is for sure correct. Next one. Which of the following does not give aldol condensation? Remember one thing, whenever you do aldol condensation, you should have alpha hydrogens, which means to say that I have an aldehydic carbon. The carbon bonded to that aldehydic carbon is alpha carbon, which means to say any hydrogen bonded to alpha carbon is called as alpha hydrogen. So this first molecule has an alpha hydrogen. Let's see the second molecule. I have an aldehydic carbon. And this carbon is bonded to a next carbon which is alpha carbon. So that alpha carbon has two hydrogens which are alpha hydrogen. What about the next one? Aldehydic carbon is there. That carbon is bonded to another carbon out the benzene ring. So that is already an alpha carbon. It has two hydrogens already. What about the last option? I have an aldehydic carbon. That carbon is bonded to another carbon which is alpha carbon. But is that alpha carbon bonded to any hydrogen? No. It is bonded to 3 chlorine atoms. So this particular compound will not undergo aldol condensation because it has no alpha hydrogen. Alright. Now next one. The amine that does not react with Hinsberg reagent. This is one of the reagents that you learn in amines chapter. In that you should know that once you react it, that's the benzene sulfonyl chloride. Once it reacts with it, it will get soluble in in your NaOH and gives you a product and so on. So that is one part that you learn there. So here you should know that a tertiary amine does not undergo. Primary amine are completely soluble, secondary amine are partially soluble, tertiary amine do not react. Now, the number of peptide bonds in a pentapeptide. Remember one thing, when you want to find out how many peptide bonds are there in a pentapeptide, you should always remember you holding hands with your friends. I have 5 members. 5 members are holding hands with each other in a straight line. So what happens? You count the number of hands that are holding. It will be one number lesser than the number of people standing there. So if I'm having one person here who has hands like this, the other person here is holding, the other person is holding the other one's hand, the other person is holding the other one's hand. Alright. So here I have one person, 2 person and 3, 4. 4 people are there. But how many hands are being held? 1, 2, 3. So it's always one number lesser than the number of people that are there. Same thing in pentapeptide. If I have a peptide linkage happening, compared to the name told here, one number lesser than that it will be. So if it's pentapeptide, you will have only 4 peptide bonds. Okay, one number lesser. So always remember you're holding hands with each other. Pentapeptide does not mean I have 5 peptide bonds. I have 5 molecules which are bonding to each other. So which means to say one number lesser it will be. Alright, so this was one of the question paper which had 15 questions. Some of it are pretty much open, some of it are very much direct. A few of it you have to work out, only then you'll get correct answer. Alright, now moving on to the second question paper. Here, the next set of question paper, first question is solid in which all domains are aligned in the same direction are called. In the solid state chapter, the last part of the chapter is all about magnetic substances, where they're talking about very simple thing, definition, how the domains are arranged and an example under them. As long as you know the definition, you will know that it is ferromagnetic substances. Alright, next is our question on solubility, solutions chapter. Solubility of a gas in a liquid increases. So you're trying to solubilize a gas in a liquid. Alright. Increases. How are you going to increase the solubility? With decrease in, you have to decrease something to bring in solubility. Okay, so you have to decrease pressure in temperature in order to bring in solubility. Okay, next one. Third one is 10 ml of A is mixed with 10 ml of B. If it shows negative deviation from Raoult's law, then the volume resultant is after mixing A and B. So I have 10 ml of A in a beaker, 10 ml of B in a beaker. When I mix both of it, technically we'll think, okay, 20 ml will come. But is that going to happen really? If it happens, it will show positive deviation, which means exact amount of both are mixed and the resulting solution have exact amount. It will never go higher, which means point B and point C is ignored out. So it has to be point D, which means it will have a little lesser, which means to say that it will show negative deviation. Next, how much Faraday of electricity is required to deposit 1 mole of silver from silver chloride? So here, silver chloride, what is the charge of silver on silver chloride? +1. So that means to say it will only take 1 Faraday, because 1 there is standing for the number of electrons that are transferred. So since only +1 charge is there on silver, that +1 into Faraday's constant, therefore 1F. Now, the order of reaction in which the unit of both the rate constant and rate of reactions are the same. For this, the answer is going to be a 0 order reaction. Alright, now next one. In the coagulation of a negative sol among the following ions, one having the highest flocculating power. So remember, this is one thing that's given to you in the textbook. When you want to form negative sol, the ion which has highest flocculating power is that ion that has the least charge on it. Alright, and that is going to be for sodium. There is a series also given to you, only from that you will be asked. So Na plus among that is going to be the least. Next one is refining method for semiconductors is going to be zone refining. This comes under metallurgy chapter. Alright, now next one, 8th question is noble gas which can diffuse to rubber and glass is helium. diffusion that will take place through rubber and glass is going to be only helium. Next, one element which has maximum unpaired electrons in the ground state, very simple, repeatedly asked question, it is Mn, because when you put down the electronic configuration in the ground state, it will contain 5 electrons. Alright, all 5 are unpaired electrons. That's what it's going to be. Next one is denticity of EDTA. EDTA is ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. In that, if you put down the structure, so I'll just put down the structure here. I have ethylene diamine. Alright, I have hydrogens here, here and here. This is the ethane molecule. Each of these are bonded to CH2CO minus, CH2CO minus. This is the structure of an EDTA. Alright. So, in this, when I count the number of centers available, that is basically your denticity, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, which are the negative charges on oxygen of the acetate ion, and 2 lone pairs on nitrogen, which are 5 and 6. So, therefore, the denticity is going to be 6. Alright. Now, tertiary alkyl halide are practically inert to substitution by SN2 mechanism because of steric hindrance, because tertiary alkyl halides are a bulky group around the carbocation. So, because of that, steric hindrance will be there. Next one, reaction of phenol with dilute HNO3 will give ortho and para nitrophenol. Phenols we all know are ortho-para directing group. You learn 2 reactions under that. One is under concentrated condition, the other one under dilute condition. When you have a concentrated condition, they will give all 3 substituted product, which means trinitrophenol. But if you look at a dilute condition, they will give ortho and para nitrophenol. So read the condition of the HNO3 correctly. Next one, aldehydes having no alpha hydrogen undergoes Cannizzaro reaction. There are only 2 reactions in your entire syllabus that you will focus on alpha hydrogen. One is aldol reaction, the other one is Cannizzaro. Aldol reaction, you should have alpha hydrogen. Cannizzaro reaction, you don't have to have an alpha hydrogen. So out of these 2, option B and option D are ignored. A is also ignored because for alpha aldol condensation, you need alpha hydrogen, whereas for Cannizzaro, you don't need an alpha hydrogen. Then next one, aniline is dash basic than methylamine. Now if you see here, aniline, the problem in aniline is the lone pairs on nitrogen are involved in resonance. So what happened? Those lone pairs are not available for any basic reaction, right? So here aniline is less basic than methylamine. What is the reason? Because lone pairs on nitrogen of aniline are involved in resonance. Then number of CONH bonds present in a tripeptide. This CONH bond is nothing but a peptide linkage only. Like I've told you, tripeptide meaning you should see a number lesser because you have 3 groups there. So when it's a tripeptide, you will have only 2 bonds in between them. Alright, so that is your second paper of your MCQs. The last one. Here, iodine molecules are held in a crystal lattice by London forces, dipole-dipole interaction, covalent bond or Coulombic forces. So here it's going to be held by London forces. These are one of those examples that you study under solid state where you have a table for this. Okay. Now, value of Henry's constant Kh is greater for gases of higher solubility, greater for gases with lower solubility, constant for all gases, not related to solubility. In this, you cannot take that option D, not related to solubility, because Henry's law is all based on solubility only. So you can ignore option D always. Option C can also be ignored because you know that neither pressure, nor temperature, nor any other factor is same for all gases. They will all vary. Alright. So constant for all gases is completely ruled out. Now option B is the only one because KH value is going to be great when solubility is lower. They are inversely proportional. So the only option that you can consider on is option B. Next one, which of the following shows positive deviation from Raoult's law? Ethanol and acetone, chloroform and acetone, nitric acid and water, phenol and aniline. So among these four, the only one that will undergo a positive deviation is ethanol and acetone. This is one of the examples that we also did in the first paper. So if you see chloroform and acetone, phenol and aniline, nitric acid and water all have hydrogen bonding among them. Therefore, they will follow negative deviation. This is the only example that has positive deviation. Alright. Now, next one. Gas liberated at cathode during electrolysis of aqueous NaCl is, when you try to do aqueous NaCl, what is happening? You have water involved in it, you have NaCl involved in it. When they all undergo electrolysis at cathode, hydrogen gas is liberated out. Got it? Now, the unit of rate constant of a zero order reaction is a repeated question from the chapter 1. It is nothing but mole inverse liter seconds inverse. Next one is the charge on a colloidal particle is determined by the process electrolysis, electrodialysis, electroplating, electrophoresis. In these first three, all of these sound the same. The first three are ignored because they follow other processes. Whenever you want to do coagulation, it is always with respect to colloidal particles, it's always with respect to electrophoresis only. Next one, which of the following methods are not purified by vapor phase refining technique? In this, if you check and see, titanium is there, nickel is there, zirconium is there. That's why you do those processes, no? Which are Mons process, Van Arkel's process. They clearly tell you Van Arkel's is by titanium and zirconium, Mons process is by nickel. So the only one that is not involved in it is zinc. Alright. Now, the last part of it. Which of the following noble gases can diffuse through rubber and glass? Is again a repeated question. Answer is helium. Which of the following transition metal ion has zero spin only magnetic moment? Cobalt 2+, Mn 2+, Fe3+, and scandium 3+. Now in all of this, if you check scandium, which is the first element in the 3D series, it has 4s2 3d1. Alright, before that is all noble gas configuration. This is just the valence orbital taken. Now in this, if I have to want to form a 3+ charge, 2 electrons from here, 1 from here, therefore it will make it as 4s0 3d0. Do I have any unpaired electrons here? No. Therefore the spin of the magnetic moment will be 0. So this is what is going to be the answer. So how are we going to approach to this? You know from the 3D series the first element is going to be scandium. Start from scandium then. Alright, don't start from option A, which is somewhere in between the series. Start from scandium, which is the first element in the 3D series. That way you'll be able to answer it. Next one, correct IUPAC name for this compound. PTNH3 twice Cl2 is. So for this, one thing I will tell you is, first you look at the options given to you. Everything is starting with diamine, dichlorido or chlorido and all of that. So the only way to do this is look at their charges on here, which are the oxidation states. So go ahead and calculate the oxidation state. In this, platinum will get 2 as oxidation state because ammonia here is 0. It's a molecule. So 2 is going to be the oxidation state. Compare both your option A and option D. Both of these are with the +2 charge. Now here, platinum NH3 twice, Cl2 twice is given. Cl2 is given. So here, your option in this is going to be option A. Platinate. Alright, you are going to have platinate as your answer. Next one is tertiary alkyl halide prefers to undergo SN1 reaction only. When phenol is heated with zinc dust, the product formed is benzoquinone, benzaldehyde, benzene or benzyl alcohol. Remember, with zinc dust is one of the important reactions. Whenever you take phenol, treat it with zinc dust, the only answer you get is benzene. Okay. Next one. Which of the following carbonyl compounds undergo Cannizzaro reaction? I told you Cannizzaro reaction does not require alpha hydrogen. So if you see the first option, this aldehydic carbon contains a next carbon that contains alpha hydrogen. This will undergo aldol. Second option, carbonyl carbon, both sides have alpha carbons which has alpha hydrogen. So that will undergo aldol. Next one, if you see aldehydic carbon is here, that is bonded to a benzene ring. And when you look at a benzene ring, what happens here? I'm having a benzene ring with a CHO. Carbonyl carbon is bonded to a carbon over here. This is the alpha carbon. But here, 1, 2, 3 and 4. All four are different bonds. It does not have a hydrogen. So this option C undergoes Cannizzaro reaction as it does not have alpha hydrogen. Similarly, option D, if you see, though it is bonded to C6H5, which is benzene ring, on the other side it has a alpha hydrogen which can have alpha hydrogen. So that will clearly undergo aldol. So like this, you're supposed to analyze your answers. 14th one is among the following which is the weakest base in aqueous medium. In this, it is going to be C6H5NH2, aniline. Alright. Now, which of the following is a steroid hormone? Insulin is not a steroid hormone. Thyroxine is not. Androgen is not. It's going to be epinephrine. Alright. That is going to be a steroid hormone. So like this, you have your MCQ questions. Some of it are very direct. Some of it you need to work out. Some of them are a little on the other side. So the best way I would tell you is, you have a lot of model papers available. I'm sure it's just floating on WhatsApp, or your teachers probably have shared it with you all. Go through the MCQs that are given in in your pre-final paper and so on. So these are the things that will help you solve MCQ questions, and it will help you all a lot in gaining that 15 marks. So if you're really not sure about a particular answer, please do not leave it. Please go through them. Please solve them, so that at least if by chance you just ticked on one answer which you don't know but you randomly ticked it, can be correct. So please do not leave any choices when you look at MCQ. Please do attempt it. It's a 15 mark. There itself most of your work will be done. So please practice this, and I hope these videos will be helpful. Previous videos also I have done a little bit on name reactions. I've done a few on the passing package. Please do go through the passing package. I'm sure it's going to help the second PU students who are writing their exams tomorrow. It's going to be of really help, because those passing package questions are the ones which are frequently asked in the paper. It will be there. So please do go through them, make them thorough, and I'll see you in another video. So I'm wishing all second PU students all the very best for their chemistry exam for tomorrow. I wish you all good luck. Thank you.